Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Transformation Perspective. I'm your host, Harper. This is a special edition of the Transformation Perspective. This is post presidential debate coverage of the 2024 presidential debate between Vice President Harris and former President Trump. So let's dive into it. We are basically 24 hours removed from the debate, and there's a lot to dissect and go through tonight. So I did a few fact checkings, not the expert at it. I'm going to disclaimer there, I am not. So let's kind of go through it. So I took notes from last night's debate and looking at everything. So basically, what we've got here is they start off with the economy. My personal perspective here is that I don't think the moderators really got to the meat and potatoes, I could say, for like Americans wanted to see like what the issues are, where do they stand on the economy. We've heard Trump, what his take might be. We're still waiting on what Harris, and I think that's where a lot of undecided voters like. I need to know more context about Harris, and that is what's needed. So let's kind of ask. This is what they asked. The moderators were asking: are you better off 4 years ago? Better off than 4 years ago? If you've watched my previous episodes on the economy, you can understand the context behind it. It is a very complex aspect. How inflation works, how prices have changed, how tax cuts have influenced all of that in our history, not just in 4 years. And that's the thing. We keep talking about short term aspects when it comes to the election, when it's a long term investment, if not long term look back for the past and how it has affected everything today. So to say 4 years ago, well, you could say, well, 8 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20, or 100 years ago, I was better off. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. You have to put in context and compare it to what I had. And like I said, 1968, if you compare it to 1968, are we better off or are we not? So some of the things that were being proposed is Harris saying that she wants to kind of cut taxes, but she has implemented that she wants to raise corporate taxes. Once that I've talked about the impact of that, what it has done in American history. She also claims that Trump's tariffs would be like a sales tax. Kind of, not really. It's false. There is context still missing in that. It's very misleading. Uh, there is a possibility of what she claimed, like $4,000. Some economists predict that. Some economists predict smaller amount if you impose tariffs on a whole bunch of goods, like 10% to 20%. So it's really hard to throw a number. So it's like a false claim, but not entirely false. So almost like a half truth that yes, consumer prices will go up if Trump imposes tariffs, but tariffs are separate from taxes, but they will be passed on to consumers. And I've talked about that in previous episodes. From that, you also have, they were talking about unemployment during that time and inflation. And Harris claimed that had the worst unemployment since the Great Depression that the Biden administration took on. Well, that's false. They're at 6.8% unemployment. It was at 14% unemployment under Trump, and it got better in that 2020 during the pandemic. So we've seen worse. So that's an aspect too that is something to keep in context. Remember, you should always fact check after the debate. I know a lot of people might just go, "Oh wow, yeah, that should." No, fact check. There's actually professionals that do that, And that is so key to understanding the truth versus not the truth. So that's kind of the context that he has. He also, talking about the economy, Trump went on to talk about how immigration is affecting the economy. If you tune into my episode 9 to wrap up immigration later this week, I'll go into that context. But he's saying that criminals are coming over, and we're going to get to that later on in the address. And it's bad immigration, which is bad for the economy. Not quite on that. There are a lot of jobs that immigrants are taking that Americans just flat out don't want to do. And one of the primary sectors is agriculture. So if you like your fresh produce in the stores, yeah, it's not Americans that are necessarily doing a lot of that farming. So with that, they moved on to topic number 2. Hold on. Thank you. Abortion. Abortion was obviously a major topic for Democrats. That is their primary push to get people out to vote this year. And every time it's on the ballot, Democrats have done very well in elections. They want to make this a centerpiece and not have the economy, because Trump is still heavily favored in the polls for leading in economic issues. Big false claim here that Trump is saying that, oh yeah, the former Virginia governor was executing, babies after they were born. This is completely false. This is misleading. This is not true at all. If you actually look at the interview that the former Virginia governor took place, that's not what it was at all. And to claim that Governor Walz also supports this is also false. So this is the rhetoric that Trump is trying to propose, that if we don't stop abortion, this is what's happening. To be honest, we haven't even got to this topic yet for my video cast. But if you haven't talked to someone who's had an abortion and what they have to go through, maybe then you might understand. All right. That context. I'm not going to get personal on those kind of aspects. I'll save it for when we start talking about reproductive rights. But ultimately, Trump is very much praising the Supreme Court justices for passing everything. Trump also claims that everybody wanted it. Everybody wanted, liberals, conservatives, pundits of all sorts, everybody. There was not a single person who didn't want this. That is actually very false, very misleading. You can't say 100% at all out there, because that's not the case. Why do you have these two aspects? I've kind of briefly talked about this in previous episodes about the economy and pro-life movement, and we should be pro-family if that's the case, but you don't put any policies in there to support the families in that aspect. So another false claim by Trump on top of the executing the babies, saying that everyone wanted. No, that is not true at all. There is a false claim by Harris that is tying Project 2025 to Trump and miscarriage monitors and stuff like that. That right now is unfactual as well. There is no evidence to back that up. But if you do get a chance to look at Project 2025, that is something I'm going to dive into later on in my episodes. That is something to concern about, and I'll give my perspective about that as well. If you're watching off of TikTok, definitely tune into my YouTube channel and catch the rest of this episode. So with that, we dived into immigration was the third topic that the moderators were addressing. And with that, you have claims that Harris was talking about how Trump basically bulldozered the bipartisan uh, bill that would have strengthened the border security aspect that are out there. The moderator, here's an interesting one. The moderators wanted to know why he killed the bill. Trump completely avoided that question. I think a lot of Americans want to know why Trump really did want to bulldoze that thing. And Harris, I think, did a fantastic job of like going on the offensive and attacking in this situation, where she says, like, you wanted to have it's an issue. You wanted to keep it an issue for political purposes instead of actually resolving the issue at hand and working. And yeah, we can claim Biden didn't do enough for immigration on the border. And then we want to pin it on Harris because she was in charge of the border situation. Mind you, okay, she's not the president, right? So why are we putting the blame on them? It's like saying, hey, the backup quarterback is the blame for why we lost the Super Bowl. You didn't even play. Yeah, so that's the thing, the backup. Okay, so that's part of that context that we need to look at for that. So back on the immigration aspect here. So Trump goes on a tangent about immigrants coming here and eating pets in Ohio. Definitely not true at all. Actually, it's like extremely false. Then he fights the moderators when the moderators fact checked him on the stage, and he's like, "No, it's true." And this is where you kind of get it. It's like, so this is what people believe. Trump says something, his supporters will believe him. Oh yeah, it's true. False propaganda, people start to buy into, and that's not okay. All right, you get the bad rhetoric, and that's where we have misconceptions and we have big problems. Also, aspect is the largest deportation. Moderators asking about 11 million. How are you going to do this? Trump didn't respond to that either. Didn't have a really claim to do something. But here's another false claim by Trump saying that all the criminals, all migrants are coming here are criminals and crime rates are down everywhere else in the world except for the U.S. has skyrocketed. This is 100% false. That is not the case at all. I can tie in. I will tie in with my episode 9 to wrap up immigration about crime rates and how those are affected. And there are some sociological aspects that play a factor into that. And once again, push-pull factors in immigration are some of those. So what you have is continuing on with this immigration about weaponizing the Justice Department, Trump was claiming, and the argument went with presidential immunity and how Trump could probably just easily round up people because he could, because it's presidential immunity. Yeah, that's where it gets scary, everybody. So it's complicated aspect. We didn't really address the aspects of immigration there, right? The big question is, okay, if we had a bipartisan bill, why, Trump? Please answer that question. Why did you ask your Republican supporters to kill the bill? That's kind of the question that I think all Americans wanted. He didn't want to answer it. It still wants to be a political issue. Yes, is Trump still gaining ground on that a little bit based on some polls? But if the truth comes out, it's like, look, you did kill it. You killed the bill. People wanted to support you so you could have it as a political issue. Yeah, people's lives, if you're complaining all these lives are getting affected and people dying and killing because of all these criminals that you keep saying that are false, then why not say, yeah, get it done? Because you want the credit. And I'll back Harris up on this one. it is about Trump. It's not about, hey, I support you, even though that's his slogans, and I'm doing this for you. I'm the one who's taking the bullets, and I'm doing this for you. No, it's all about him and what's good for his image. If he really did care about the immigration issue and all the illegals coming over that he claims and crime rates, he would have said, yes, get that bill passed. I want this to end and we can move on. But that wasn't the case. So we go on to the moderators were asking about Harris's political policies and values not changing. Look, here's my 2 cents on this. People's stances change. If you don't have enough information about it, or you're taught or exposed, or maybe you have an open mind to different things, your ideas can change. Your policies can change, right? Your values don't have to. Heck, policies that I believe in have changed over the course. Heck, when I was in high school and when I was being brought up on by my family are not even close to what I believe in today. Okay? Policies can be changed, but doesn't mean you have to compromise your values on that. So I think that's where you need to understand, America, that, yeah, flip-flopping, Kamala Harris. Okay? People can change their stances on some things. Trump keeps flipping back and forth about the abortion aspect. Okay? So what do we got? Yeah, we want a national board. No, I support states. No, we should do this. We should have 15 weeks. No, we shouldn't. Back up to the states. I will not pass one. Okay? But if there's actually context that you've been in office and you say, oh, this is how it works, sure, you might take a different stance on something. Doesn't mean your values have to change. Harris, and the Trump claiming that Harris was in support of immigrants wanting transgender reassignment surgery. That is mostly true, but it still needs a lot more context behind it. So just want to put that out there for a fact check as well. Topic number 5 they were talking about is a peaceful transfer of power. Once again, we're still stuck on this January 6th thing, which I guess is okay. If we remember what happened on January 6th, Trump keeps arguing that it's patriots. No. I'm going to flat out tell you, no, that's not patriotic. Okay. If you go by the history books anywhere around the world, you're looking at basically it's like a coup overthrowing the government itself. Heck, even during the American Revolution, right? We're trying to overthrow Britain. Britain said same thing. Look, that's not patriotic. You're revolting against the king. It's treason. You can put it in any kind of context like that. So, once again, but Trump still kind of denies, and now the moderator is like, well, wait a minute, you soften your stance. So they asked them, so you're saying you're accepting the results? No, I'm not accepting the results of the 2020 election. There were some major issues. So all we have to do is fabricate something to pass on the truth, or I should say, quote on that, make it the truth. And what has happened? Sure, prime example, 2000 election, hanging chads, older generations, you know what I'm talking about, Halloween costumes as well, Gore versus Bush, right? Election integrity, is it good? Absentee ballots, can't count them. We've been doing absentee ballots for a long time, so why is it all of a sudden become an issue? Right? we try to do things to make voting easier for everybody, but then we try to put more restrictions on them. Trump doesn't like losing, flat out, simple as that, and can't accept that defeat. Gracious loser, can we say? That's probably something better. So, when asked, would you accept the results of 2024? No. That is something, America, we need to be very, what's the best word for it? Open-minded or cautious about what could potentially happen if Trump loses. If Trump wins, then no brainer. There's nothing wrong. But if he loses, what's going to happen, everybody? Right? Keep that in mind. Right? We don't want to incite any violence or anything like that. But me, being a historian aspect, I would be concerned, right? So just keep that in mind. No context about that aspect whatsoever, not accepting the results. So just kind of looking through my notes, acknowledging it, stuff like that. Okay, so then they turn to world issues that we've got here. Israel and Hamas war that you've got. So supporting Israel, supporting Palestine. Trump is claiming that if Harris is elected, the state of Israel will no longer exist. Harris supports Israel, but wants the civilians of Palestine to stop being killed. Yeah, innocent civilians should not be caught in the crossfire. War is not a pleasant thing, right? But we have a tendency to go to that right away. Fighting has got to be the first thing, right? Wars are always fought over religion or land. And yeah, we want to defend. Heck, today's the anniversary of 9/11, right? 23 years ago. So I remember it vividly. I remember the emotions that were going through. I was sad. I was rageful. I was angry. I was terrified. You name it. Right? So we do support our allies, but not at the extent of killing innocent civilians who have nothing to do with that. Right? So that is something to be concerned about. Trump says he gets elected, it's good. It's all going to be resolved. Oh, and if he was still president, this wouldn't be an issue. What are you going to do? Right? At least Harris put out there, well, we need to create some negotiations. We need a two-state solution. My perspective is yes, from the history books, Palestine existed prior to World War II. And the world, this is a history lesson I don't need to get into, but basically after World War II, it's like, okay, we need Israel, create a state of Israel. Then you just got rid of a country. Oh, wait, did we not do that here in the Americas with the indigenous people as well? Mm-hmm. Just kick them out. That's just move them, keep moving them. That's what we did. Terrible, very terrible. So Trump doesn't really have a plan to how to negotiate things, what he wants to do. The war in Ukraine was another issue that they were talking about. And Trump basically says, like, well, I come in, the war's done. The war is going to be even done before I get elected. It's not. Harris said basically Trump would give up on Ukraine and, Ukraine wouldn't be free anymore. So there's a lot of conflict within that. Yeah, Trump seems to back Putin more so than anything. It's not a good idea to back out of NATO at all, just because of history here repeating itself, that the League of Nations after World War One, the U.S. Senate and House said no to that because, well, that's Europe's problem. And what happened? We end up having World War II. So when Trump says, yeah, they need to pay, if they don't pay, we're getting out, that just is, we're right around that 100-year mark again, and we're doomed to repeat our history mistakes. So keep that in mind when you go to the polls. Understand your history, everybody, because it's so critical. History does have a tendency to repeat itself. Next topic, they got into Afghanistan, more foreign affairs. Topic number 7, the moderator's address was race in politics, and the comments were of like Trump saying she's black, she's not black, she's Indian, she's not Indian. Should it be? We're all humans. Simple as that. We are all human beings. We have cells. We live. We breathe. Why are we still stuck on pigmentation, color of our skin? It's 2024. So then they get into affordable health care, right? This is definitely a hot topic. This is kind of brought into my first couple topics on the economy and how, universal health care should be a human right. Why don't we have that? Why is it when I have to change jobs, I have this weird grace period of where I don't have insurance, or if you're working in the retail business or restaurant business, you don't have insurance. You have to buy your own, or you can't afford your own. Why not? So Trump now says, I have a new plan. Really? We're going to go down this again? Why don't we just make things better? Why try to repeal things and take things away from people? Why can't we just make it universal? Everybody has access. If everybody's paying in, right? If it's some sort of tax that everyone pays in, like Social Security, right? Regardless if you're part-time, full-time, retail, construction, education, medical, you name it, everybody has it. Do what's best for the entire community. That is not socialism. That's social contract theory. Okay? And it protects your unalienable rights way better. Okay? So I don't want to go down this route again of like, oh, you can't have this. No, let's not get rid of the healthcare things. We need to make it better. Then they talk about climate change. Was their 9th topic that they've got. Harris claims that Trump says it's a hoax. Trump basically was claiming that auto industry jobs have been lost, putting tariffs on cars when he gets elected. And Trump never really answered about climate change and what he wants to do about it. Here's my take. I haven't got to this topic, but I might as well put my sense in here. Coming from an agricultural background, growing up on a dairy farm, taking away farmland for wind turbines and solar panels, not the best thing, right? Land is very scarce, and we need to maximize scarcity. If you understand the scarcity and how it works in the economic world, that's a no-no. Why not do something different? You have all these thousands, if not millions, of buildings that have rooftops. Put them on. What if when you build a new home, you have to put solar panels on your roof? What if instead of over parking lots where the hot sun beats down the concrete, raises the temperature, creates these microclimates, we put canopies that are solar panels? What if on the freeways we put massive canopies that are solar panels over bridges? I'm just throwing out some ideas to maximize our resources that we've got instead of taking up resources that we need for food. Put them on things that already exist, right? Sides of buildings, right? Cities are extremely hot. They produce microclimates. How do you cool them down? You got to shade them, trees. But why not tap into that energy source? The other aspect that I'm starting to see popping up on the internet, instead of having wind turbine fields that are killing birds, right? Why don't we use the resources of, like, I see these little windmills that are propelled with passing cars. It generates, I think it was like a kilowatt of electricity, right? Just by passing cars. You put them on the medians and cars go by and it catches the wind current and generates electricity. I think that's brilliant, right? Is it aesthetically pleasing? No. Okay. But if we're trying to reduce climate change, if we're trying to make things better for our human survival, you claim it's a hoax, but do you really want to risk that for future generations? Don't think so. Right? So we need to start looking at different possible ways to do things. How do we tap into the energy sources that are already there? Right? Cities are incredibly hot, right? Because of the concrete. I'm not saying get rid of concrete, but is there a way to shade that by harnessing the sun before it heats up the concrete through solar energy that way? Just a thought. Think about how much energy you could produce just by New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Orlando. I don't know. I'm just throwing out some big cities that if you basically created some kind of canopy aspect for like enough to semis can clear, like an almost overpass or even like parking lots. Think about the possibilities of that. We need to start thinking outside the box when it comes to that. Not saying it's a hoax. Advance the technology so we as humans keep surviving. Closing remarks, closing arguments. This is the tone that I got from this. Harris had more positive tone that she was portraying. Even in the entire debate, she was portraying very positive. Focus on the future. Invest in the future. Opportunities in the economy. Give Americans that are hard workers the breaks they need. So like tax breaks that they can start up businesses, not big corporations tax breaks. Those kind of things. Very positive tone message to Americans. Very pro-American aspect. Like, we need to do this together. I thought that was brilliant. Trump, on the other hand, very negative tone on his closing remarks. Why hasn't she done what she was supposed to do? She didn't do this. She failed at this. Negative image about America. America's terrible. It's going to a wasteland. Kind of funny that a president who wants to make America great again keeps name calling people, keeps throwing people under the bus, uses negative connotations. Are you serious? That is somebody we want in office? Here's my perspective on that. I'm an educator, and I tell my students daily, be nice to people, be kind to people. All right? not put people down, not say negative things about them. The only way society will advance and thrive is we don't put people down. Yeah, it's a heartwarming feeling. Maybe you're saying, Harper, what are you talking about? Negative connotation attacks are not what we should be doing to make America great again. And that is what Trump keeps doing. And I, for one, don't think that's a good tactic. But people keep buying into that rhetoric. So the concept here is, I think Harris did a good job. She went on the offensive. She went on the attack. She went after Trump. We'll see what the polls say after this. Is it enough to, for those undecided voters to see, oh, this is who she is? Trump, very much on the defensive. Claims maybe the best debate that he's had, performance. I will disagree, right? He was very much on the defensive the whole time and never really got to talk about his policies. Once again, went on rambles about eating pets and criminals leaving and coming here and just rambles. A lot of false stuff. I'm not saying Harris had all positive, true claims. She had some false claims too. They're both guilty of false things, right? And that's the important after watching a debate is you need to fact check so you understand the context that it's coming from. Basically, take it for a grain of salt, right? If this election is truly democracy's on the line, which you could argue, right? We're going to go one way or another way. What way do we go? Let's keep that in mind. Keep watching. I will have episode 9 to wrap up immigration later this week. All right, we do have a vice presidential debate coming up, I do believe, on October 1st, that I'll do a special coverage on that. We'll see if we have a second debate between Harris and Trump. I think America would love to have one, and especially talk about actual policies. What are you going to do about the economy? What's your plan about immigration? What's your plan about everything else that we're struggling with? How about families? What are you going to do for them? So with that, have a good rest of your evening if you've been tuning in live on this. Otherwise, I will see you later this week for back to our regular episodes. I am Harper. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share it. Get the word out, everybody. And don't forget to register to vote and get out and vote. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. I'll see you later this week. Bye.